Okay, cool, I made it back. All right, good. Welcome to Video Hell Show. My name is Frank, and today we're here to talk about pirates! The movies we're here to talk about today are The River Pirates and The Ice Pirates. What you'll notice is, probably first of all, if you're taking a look at the boxes here of both of these movies, that they share the exact same font for their titles, which is interesting. They stole the Indiana Jones font, and they decided to use it on not one but two movies. And I'm sure there's probably hundreds more that tried to use that exact same font to try to ape off of the success of the Indiana Jones franchise. The first movie we're going to talk about tonight is Ice Pirates. As always, I'm going to read a little bit off of the box here for everyone. The front of Ice Pirates, as you can see, this was actually put into a plastic clamshell. Somebody cut the original box apart and placed it, as one often would back in the 80s or 90s, into a clamshell sleeve so that the VHS would last longer. However, they really did a number on the packaging here. So they did not cut it out properly, and there is quite a bit missing from both the front and back of this box. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but right down the edge here on both sides, very unevenly cut, and they cut off quite a bit of the description here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this with the cut-off description as best as I possibly can, and we'll see if we can get something out of it. Because they wrote on the back of Ice Pirates, by the way, a full novel's worth of information. We'll start off on the front here. All it gives us is that it's an MGM UA home video presentation video cassette, which you probably would have assumed at least some of that, especially the fact that it's a video cassette, by holding it in your hand. But after that, I think everything else you'll notice is just some actually decent art here, decent artwork for the box art. It's actually gives a good overview after watching it of everything that happens. On the back, as I mentioned, we're going to start and go ahead trying to read what's here, even though it's cut off. The swashbuckling, I'm going to start off with whatever the tagline would have been. The swashbuckling sci-fi adventure will blast you right into orbit. And then the description. The best star-studded entertainment in the galaxy. It's pirates. The swashbuckling fee adventure that will blast right into orbit. Starring Vegas Urich and Mary Yas. Crosby, Ice Pirates is the tacular space odyssey set 000 years in the future. A mighty thirsty universe whose entire water supply is trolled by the evil Templar Pyre. They ship frozen blocks, heat precious fluid across the reaches of space. Only the pirates, the bravest bunch Buccaneers ever to steer a ship, can hijack the frozen shore. Dazzling display of weird creatures and special effects, Ice Pirates reaches far into fantasy to create a universe of visual excitement, a time and place belonging only to the realm of the imagination. Robert Urich plays the dashing pirate leader with plenty of swash and buckle, while Mary Crosby sizzles as the interstellar beauty who captures our hero's heart. Loaded with thrills and romance, Ice Pirate bursts with the energy of the stars to bring you first-rate intergalactic entertainment. Get on board with the Ice Pirates for the wildest space ride this side of the Milky Way. And now, I'll read a little bit off of the case for River Pirates.
It is a land of burnt orange twilights and deep mysteries as old as time itself.
Off the front here, just I think I got a little bit of a bleached out case. It looks like somebody left this sitting in the front store window somewhere, and the colors are kind of gone from it, but you know, it's all good. It still looks halfway decent. On the front here, the tagline, Willie and his friends found the adventure of a lifetime while searching for the River Pirates. Come to find out that's not so true. On the back here, same thing, and then the description. Join in the adventure of a lifetime as Willie and his friends clash with the notorious river pirates in this thrilling coming-of-age film. It's like Boyhood. Step into the heart of the Deep South, just a stone's throw from the Mississippi Delta, where a string of strange crimes committed by a group of mischievous hoodlums have the entire town in fear. Willie is frightened, yet fascinated by the trouble as he seeks the advice of his old grandfather, played by Richard Farnsworth of Misery. Fantastic. With a burst of courage, Willie and his friends decide they can't wait for the police to solve the mystery, and so they take off into the swamp hoping to bring the river pirates to justice. The trail leads them to a deserted mansion, and once they pass beyond its gates, there's no turning back. So first, we're going to talk about Ice Pirates. Because in my opinion, Ice Pirates is the better of the two films, I think I'm going to get this out of the way first, and I'm not going to go too in-depth because first and foremost, I'm going to say I really recommend watching this movie. It's a ridiculous film, up and down. Right off the bat, I think I have to say, when I first put this on, because of the description on the back, and because on the spine here, it was labeled science fiction, I thought that I was going to be getting a straight-up science fiction film. And I thought maybe it would be extremely low budget. I thought I was going to get some so bad it's good material from this, just based off of having seen stuff like Space Raiders. What I ended up getting was a fantastic comedy. So we start off in this movie with some VO, with a very verbose opening title for exposition to really tell you everything that's going on, to set up the world.
Long after the great interplanetary wars, the galaxy has gone dry. Water has become the only thing left of value. Evil Templars from the planet Mithra have gained control of this life-giving resource.
They're not going to show you anything. Once again, hallmark of not a great film. They're going to tell you everything rather than show you and bring you up to speed with title card and VO. So that's one of the very first things that happens. We find out that there are these people called the Templars that are out there, you know, I guess just like the actual Knights Templar, but out in space. And they are trying to control all of the galaxy's water. They have all of the remaining water in the galaxy, I guess in the form of ice, because that's what's in the movie and that's the title. And so there's this resistance of pirates that steals the water from them on a regular basis. As soon as you jump into the movie, you can tell it's extremely low budget. It looks like watching Doctor Who. Either the really early Who from the 80s. There's some really crappy robots on screen that are just, I guess they did the best they had with the budget. One of the very first things that I noticed when I was going through the opening credits was Anjelica Huston and Ron Perlman are in this movie, which is absolutely nuts. Very young Anjelica Huston and Ron Perlman. It was great to see them in this. Robert Urich, or Urich, I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name.
Very funny.
I probably should, but I did not watch any interviews to see if people pronounce it correctly. So I'm going to say Urich, whatever. It's one of those. Somebody's going to correct me, I'm sure. He's really good in it. I really enjoyed his performance. But yeah, so we get to the opening scenes. We see a group of what we can then assume are ice pirates on a ship. They go and dock up on a Templar ship. And they try to steal some ice. Immediately I thought it was going to be a low-budget Star Wars ripoff. The opening VO kind of had made it sound like Dune in the sense that instead of the spice, they're controlling water and ice in the galaxy. And there's only one planet now that has it. That's very much stolen from Dune. And then the interior of the Templar ship, once the pirates get on it, very much looks like a Star Wars set. But just lower budget. And then they have this little robot that comes in, a little droid that's patrolling the ship that is making R2-D2 noises. It looks like a really crappy knockoff version of R2-D2. And at that point I'm like, is this on purpose or is this supposed to be funny? I guess the very first tip off that I'm not watching a actual sci-fi movie is a maid comes out of a door and startles the pirates, who then have to take her hostage in a room. She is dressed in a full French maid outfit.
You people!
Maintenance, ma'am.
You don't belong on this ship. Guard!
And I was like, okay. The pirates I get in context. They're cyberpunkish outfits, I get. That makes complete sense. When I saw that old woman dressed in a full French maid outfit, I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I said, that's not something you put into a serious sci-fi movie. You just don't. Again, it kind of felt a little bit Doctor Who, so at that point I still wasn't 100% sure. But then, once that's done, these actual Templar Knights start walking down, dressed in full chainmail and robes and the whole 9 yards, come down the hallway. and try to make sure that the woman in the room, the maid woman, is all right. One of the pirates has to pretend that he's the maid.
Everything's fine. I thought I saw a mouse.
And in the meantime, Robert Urich goes to the back, Robert Urich goes to the back of this room that they're in and finds a woman in what looks like a stasis pod, all smoky. Opens it up in a really, actually pretty little vignette here, little sequence where he opens up the lid and this fog billows out and he blows it away. Gently, and you're like, oh, this is nice. We're gonna set up maybe a little meet cute here or something like that. Then he peeks down the woman's dress. And I'm like, holy shit, all right, nope, this is not, unless this is some sort of mistake, this is definitely not a sci-fi film. I had forgotten that once the pirates had docked with the Templar ship, they drill through the wall with a laser. Instead of just like opening a door or something, people are always blown through like ship walls or cutting through them into the other ship. There's no like doors being used, it's always that. But they bust through this wall into a bathroom and there's an alien with a head that looks like a testicle.
Take care of him.
On the crapper, all the pirates that pass this guy as he's on the crapper, this alien dude, say, oh, you take care of him, you take care of him, you take care of him.
Take care of him.
Take care of him.
And the very last guy, Ron Perlman, passes him and looks behind him and says, you take care of him. Then nobody else goes. He comes back, backs up, and bumps the dude on the head.
Take care of him. Take care of him. Sorry.
Again, should have really known at that point I was watching a comedy and not a sci-fi film. After the sexual assault, we get a movie that feels somewhere in between Star Wars and Spaceballs. It kind of wants to be a sci-fi film in parts. It wants to be a hardcore comedy that's almost 100% spoof like Spaceballs, but it doesn't really hit either end properly and does kind of languish somewhere in the middle. That said, a lot of the comedy that happens is pretty funny. Genuinely, I had a good time. I had a lot of laughs. There's a later giveaway where Jason, who's Robert Urich, is going around with his friend, and they find in this ship that they steal a closet, out of which spills this, what you think should be a mop, but it looks like an actual dummy head on a mop. Scares the crap out of Jason's friend. Can't remember his name right now. And then they find this like gross egg that falls out.
What kind of petrified egg? Ooh, where'd this come from?
The closet.
On the floor, and they spill it out, and it's gross. And they're wondering what the hell it is. So they look on a manifest that was next to that room, and they say they find a space herpy.
Oh no. What is it? Space herpy.
The look on his face as he turns to, as Jason, as Robert Urich turns to his friend, he goes, space herpy. I laughed so hard. And then he has to tell his other friend that the ship has herpes.
The ship just got herpes.
It's insanity. They make a lot of crazy jokes like that. It really feels a lot like Spaceballs. Robert Urich's character is a lot like Han Solo, also, just like Spaceballs. So there's really not a lot of difference, or it's not as slapsticky. There's not as much straight spoof as in Spaceballs. But when you watch this, There's plenty of that. One of the things that you immediately notice too is the costuming is all over the place. Whoever was in charge of costumes just definitely raided the costume department at some studio and took everything. It didn't matter if it was like Greek togas, club wear, everything makes an appearance in this movie. It's absolutely insane. It's just like whatever they could get their hands on, they put on screen. It didn't matter. There's just a lot, and there's a lot going on visually. A lot of work was put into the sets. There's a lot of stupid stuff, like they used, it was really low budget, so they used like actual TVs in the cockpits of these ships. There's a point where they get into a space battle with the Templars. The pirates are in a ship. They get into a space battle, and it's really just like Galaga on a screen.
That one again. Good, good. Here comes another one. Get him, get him, get him, get him.
There's no actual display of what they're seeing outside of the ship. It's just pixelated blocks on a screen firing at other things, firing at it. And then at the end it says contest over, like it's a video game. And then the wall just explodes immediately after that ends. Like the ship wouldn't even have had time to latch to the other ship when the wall explodes and the Templars are in the room. I mean, just insane stuff is going on in this movie. All that said, I don't really want to go too far into it and spoil too much of it. There is a really cool scene near the end where it also feels like a Doctor Who episode. The ship is trying, the real plot in the movie is these pirates then try to find this mythical world, the seventh world that has water on it. They're also kind of trying to find this princess's dad, but that never ends up happening. They go and meet robotic Bruce Vilanch.
I've coddled him as if he were my own child. After all, he's responsible for all of this.
Of course, that has to happen in a movie. You thought it wasn't going to happen?
I have a splitting headache. Would you happen to have a Tylenol?
You'll need more than a Tylenol if you don't tell me where my father is.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of a scene where they try to like spoof a little bit of Mad Max in a scene. I actually read online that was specifically done. It was supposed to be a little bit of a jab at Mad Max with some cars in a desert. There's a lot of stuff like that. But all in all, I'm surprised that I'd never heard of this movie before, and nobody has ever told me about it. It was actually really fun. There's a lot of really fun, stupid stuff in it, and I mean, I really highly recommend trying to get your hands on this and watching it. Don't say that about much with that glowing a review. I think this is really worth seeing. There's an end scene that's a little bit like Doctor Who, in that the ship is stuck in a time warp, and just before they get to the time warp, Jason gets the princess pregnant.
Jason?
Yeah, what's going on?
Big surprise, Daddy.
Congratulations!
And while they're in the time warp, there's enough time for his son to be born to then fight in this battle between him and the Templars.
Jason! It's him! It's him! That's our baby!
That is him.
Isn't he beautiful?
Mom, Dad, we won!
It's just very... There's actually a Doctor Who timeline that goes on like that, sort of, with Amy and Rory. It's just wild. I 100% think anybody who's watching this now should probably try to find a way to watch The Ice Pirates. I know it's on Amazon Instant Video, but however you can get yourself a copy of it to take a watch, I highly, highly recommend it. And that was Ice Pirates. So the next movie I'm going to talk to you about tonight is The River Pirates. While both of the movies have pirates in the title, only the first one really has to do with pirates so much. This one was more like the movie Boyhood, but in the South, and even worse. It's one of the most boring things I've ever seen. It's kind of like for a little while I was transported out of my own body into the body of a young Southern boy, and I had to live his life for almost 2 hours.
The preacher has already got his Bible open. I'll stay here in the field and play echo. You go up and play at the funeral. I'll be your echo.
No! You had echo last 3 times! Oh, never mind. I'll take Grace so you can have echo. Bye!
which felt like an eternity. I'm not gonna lie to you. The movie features a lot of voiceover narration in the voice of the main character, but you never see him older or anything, so it's just an old man recanting being a kid in the South. And honestly, that might be the best part of the movie. A lot of the VO is very poetic.
I said goodbye to a friend of mine, and to the little boy inside us all that will never grow up.
It actually got me thinking about life, the trials and tribulations, and some of the rites of passage and the tense and sometimes awkward moments of being a kid and growing up. This was a little bit different in that this movie takes place during, I think, 1944, in the midst of World War II. There's a lot of that going on in the background. It's mentioned a few times, especially having to do with the main character Willie's neighbor, Bobby Lee, who goes on to World War II very early in the film. And it's kind of focused around being a kid in the South in the 40s, so it does, some of the parts still translate in terms of things like just in general being a kid, falling in love, family, friends, things like that translate no matter what age we're watching it in. But there's also some stuff that doesn't really hold up as well to the test of time. Things like the kids are constantly driving around in a car.
Benji, I'm having fun. This is my mom's car. Please be careful. Say, Robert Urich, you know any fast foot runners around here?
And no adult is around. The kid who plays Buzz in Home Alone is in this, and his mom owns a car, and he ends up driving it all the time. And so there's just a bunch of kids driving around in a car, which probably went on a lot back then, I'm assuming, or at least went on somewhat. But no one ever stops them. Just doesn't happen. No one ever cares. They even get into a small accident when they're trying to impress one of the girl member of the group, Rivers. They try to impress her, and they end up getting in an accident, and an adult sees it and offers to just help them.
Come on, boy. I'll drive you into town, get her fixed.
Thank you so much, sir. Guys, he's gonna fix it.
He doesn't even get them in trouble. You'd think watching a movie like this, the adult would try to get the kids in trouble. Doesn't happen. Not a lot of stakes. The movie is titled The River Pirates, and we're given a couple of different possibilities of what this movie's going to be about, but I'm going to let you know right now it has absolutely no plot. This movie has absolutely no plot. It just kind of meanders. You think it's going to be about this witch that the kids see a grave for at the church that they go to. It's not about that. You think that the plot is going to have something to do with these pirates and what they're doing, but they only drop the odd reference to them throughout the film here and there. It's really just about these kids being kids and going around playing jokes on people, getting into scraps with older bullies, the one kid, Willie, falling in love with his neighbor, Rivers, talent shows, talking with your grandpa, pranking your grandma. Also, there's a really ill-defined family structure. It almost seems like Willie's mom and dad in this movie are divorced, but they are still together, but you never really see them together, and you never see the family all together. Every once in a while, Willie goes and hangs out with his grandpa, who he really likes, and his grandpa lives with his sister.
Mr. Percy, you are just an old sour pickle.
All right. Is it a vegetable?
Is what a vegetable?
What you got behind your back?
And every once in a while, he visits them and pranks his aunt. He hangs out with his friends a lot. There's a really racist scene where some older kid screams the N-word at one of Willie's younger black friends. It's really fucked up. There's a lot of dated shit in this, and honestly, this is not something that's ever been put on DVD, Blu-ray, and it's not available as far as I can find on any streaming service. So this has been snuffed. They don't want anybody to find this. And if you look on eBay, there are only $40 plus copies of it. I think it's been buried. It's got Anne Ramsey in it.
Who's this crime? Where time stands still.
From Goonies fame and Throw Mama from the Train, she plays almost an identical role to herself in Goonies, except there's absolutely nothing to this role. She shows up very few times on camera. They make references to the fact that she's that witch, but there's no witch, and they never resolve that. She works with two guys, just like in Goonies, but you barely ever see them. You see them in one scene near the end. And shortly after this film, apparently Anne Ramsey sadly passed away from throat cancer. I don't think it was throat cancer. I think this movie killed Anne Ramsey. That's alleged. Allegedly, this film was what killed Anne Ramsey. R.I.P. a fantastic actress, Anne Ramsey. Also, the kid who plays Willie in this movie ended up having some success afterwards in Hollywood. One of his more notable roles was he played the younger version of Peter Pan in the movie Hook. Other than that, he really didn't act in anything anybody else would know. He's done a couple little production pieces here and there, nothing crazy. This movie eventually comes to a resolution after the kids, maybe something like an hour and 25-30 minutes in, catch the bad guys who are the river pirates who you barely know anything about and they don't matter to the story at all. They catch them, and then the movie should end at that point, but it goes on for another 20 minutes where we get like another coming of age tale with this kid asking about death and relationships and like having to come to terms with the fact that he's leaving some of his friends behind, like this kid Spit that he's really good friends with throughout the movie, this Bayou kid who's like a dirty Bayou rat that just doesn't go to school. And there's other things in the movie, like they make references. They live in a town called Yazoo, by the way, and they keep making references to this beast called the Yazoo. This is a really racist tale about a Native American who was like trapped in a cave and became a moss monster. And they keep talking about the Yazoo's gonna get you. This movie's an absolute mess. I kind of recommend people try to see this because it's really hard to find, and because I feel like people are trying to make sure this never sees the light of day. It's awful. It's really long. It's really bad. It's like if Stand By Me, The Sandlot, and 16 Candles were like one terribly long movie in the South. I hate you. I hate you. It's fucking terrible. Maybe watch it. I don't know, man. If you really want to watch something weird and rare and you got some time to kill, sure. If not, you're gonna probably have to try to buy this on VHS because it does not exist anywhere else or any way else. If you're into collecting rare VHS tapes, this is for you. If you're into watching something that'll make your head hurt a little bit, sure, why not? If you want to see Anne Ramsey in one of her last on-screen roles, worth it for that too, I guess. Try to get that time back. Never gonna get that time back. Could have been doing something else. I was doing this. That was the River Pirates. Watch Ice Pirates instead. But yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm still here. Oh, that's right.